Hi there, folks. Simmon here. This is the 2023 Trans-AtlanTak Tournament, and we are about to watch a match between Rabbit Boy 84 and Pluto the Brave. Rabbit Boy 84 is representing the New World, and Pluto the Brave representing the Old World. That's the terminology we decided to use because it's really hard to come up with something that works as the Americas plus maybe Australia versus Europe and Asia and Africa, and it's confusing otherwise. So New World, Old World is what we're gonna go with, and Pluto the Brave from the UK and Rabbit Boy 84 from the USA. He is also the president of the US TAC Association, so fully representing there, even though it is a worldwide organization, international. The name is US. And we can take a look here at the current standings of the Trans-AtlanTak Tournament. The last 2 years, Europe or the Old World absolutely destroyed the New World. It wasn't even close. I think each year, New World got 3 points total. So already New World off to a huge start here. 4 points to 1. So doing an excellent job, and let's see how this is going to turn out. Both top players, both definitely top 10 players here. It is going to be a heck of a game. I imagine Rabbit Boy 84 is going to have trouble with his clock because that is typically his thing. But other than that, I think we're going to see a really close game here. And in addition to all of this, I am joined in the commentary box by Will, whose microphone is currently not working, but he'll get it fixed eventually, I'm sure. But anyway, going into this, while he fixes that up, we are looking at, again, Pluto the Brave and Rabbit Boy 84. You've seen Pluto the Brave a bunch of times in other tournaments. You've also heard his commentary. He is a frequent guest commentator on my channel and does his own commentary channel stuff every once in a while as well. So we are getting ready, trying to get Will's microphone set up here. He is also top competitor and playing for the Old World side. So it will be, an even balanced commentary. It won't just be me rooting for Rabbit Boy 84 this whole time. It'll be a back and forth here, assuming his microphone works. Still not functioning. Okay, so it was a little earlier, but we'll figure it out. And I'm just gonna let them know that they're good to play while Will figures out the microphone, and then we're gonna jump right in. All right. So, like I was saying, these guys are top competitors, and Will also top competitor. Will hasn't played his match. I played mine yesterday, and I did come out victorious in mine against Nitzel. But Will has a much tougher opponent with Ali.
Yeah, I'm facing Ali. I'm not sure how it will turn out because we only played twice, and that was over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And my record is 50-50 back then.
Yeah.
Although I don't remember what the context of those 2 games was.
You've gotten a lot better, and
since
Ali's
then I've
even gotten better.
Yeah, like the meta has completely changed. The playstyles have completely changed. Although Ali is still playing his sort of self-capture heavy weird style that I'm not sure I'll be that comfortable with, but we'll see where it goes. But let's focus on
Pluto and Rabbit Boy 84.
Yeah.
I think that it's been my opinion for a long time. Without the clock, Rabbit Boy 84 is one of the probably top 3 players in the world, if not number 1. He will spot everything, but he gets killed by time.
I mean, time management is a part of the
absolutely
playing skill. So
all right, we're seeing an A1 placement here right at the beginning, and probably going to see opposite corners.
Ooh, the hug.
It's the hug. Oh, that's right. Bill said that he was going to play the hug. He was going to hug him so hard.
Let's go. Oh, and we're off to a knight's hug. Does either player know the right opening prep or
I don't know.
right
You
moves
know
from
this
here.
opening prep, right?
I do. It's you follow with your own knight, but not there. You put on c2 instead. I think it's still fine though, at least according to the bot. I don't have the analysis on me, and I don't remember it.
Will, famously
Uh,
the creator of the Willem bot, which is potentially the strongest bot right now, arguably the strongest. It's between Willem bot and Topaz, I think, at the moment. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's a bit difficult to measure because each bot plays on slightly different settings. Like not all
yeah,
bots support 2 Komi, and not all bots support an opening book. So it's yeah, but it's up there.
it's up
And
there.
Leon and I used it a bunch for opening prep. So we have studied what the bot likes, what the bot dislikes,
And Allion
and
used
then
that same opening prep in the TAC championship tournament,
yeah, that's true.
and that arguably led to his eventual win in that. So this hug opening prep might be something to look at.
Okay, so they might be able to transpose into the main line if they play c2 now, because the main line is, well, the knight, then c2, then the opponent plays the same move as Pluto did here, and
See, as
then if
black,
Rabbit
I would really want to
wants
drop a
to,
capstone at c2.
I think that's fine as well. But usually in these lines, your capstone will end up somewhere on c4, and you play for a horizontal up there
It just capstone
with
at
the
c2
opportunity to
just
capture onto.
seems so strong because it follows a lot of the guidelines that I talk about in the capstones video TAC University, but it's right there, able to capture in either of those positions. It stops the sort of the connection from white. It works towards black's own threats. It's more or less centrally located. It's not up against a wall or anything. Can't be isolated. Like there's a lot going for it, but yeah,
Yeah, okay.
goes for
So
the
they're
flat
following the
instead.
main line now. Yeah, they transpose back into the main line. They're following the Fury. Here you play either A3 or C1. It's symmetrical, so either is fine.
And I
And
feel
then
like is if black plays either of those, then white plays the other one, right?
well, white has a few more options. They can either play the other one, or they can go for like either the vertical or the horizontal with something like B4 or D2. But then you'll see a capstone on the next move, either on C4 or D3.
See, because here I would drop probably a flat at c1 if I'm white, because I know that I'm continuing on that line for the horizontal. I'm not having to make any capture, and if anything, I'm forcing black to start making captures or continue to block, and then I can kind of force that. If he's making captures, then I'm doing the right thing.
Well, black always has the resource of cutting the anchor with either A1 or A3, right? So that's what the hug is good for. You always have the stone there just in case, and you can then switch the momentum around.
Yeah. Very tightly packed in that bottom left hand corner. there's a lot going on, a lot of thinking going on, because you take a look at the times here. Pluto the Brave down to 13 and a half minutes. That's a minute and a half spent so far in 4 moves, and not counting the 15-second increment per move. And then also Rabbit 84 down to 14 minutes on the clock. So definitely spending a lot of time here in this early opening game. And Rabbit 84 said ahead of the time that he was going to hug him, and he hugged him. And it looks like Rabbit 84 may have prepared for this opening, and Pluto the Brave doesn't look to have done that.
Yeah. Actually, there have been 6 games in tech history in this position. At least what I'm seeing in the new Opening Explorer. Yeah, on PT Ninja. Most have been played by Allion against Pluto.
Oh, really? So
Yes,
Pluto
so with
should
Allion as
have
black
some
and Pluto as
experience
white.
here.
So I think Pluto has experience in losing in from this position against Elliot, but
Experience losing from that position. That's probably not what he wants. He wants experience winning from this position.
yes, but maybe experience is experience, so maybe it doesn't matter. Just being aware of the threats is helpful.
Yeah, but he is spending a lot of time here.
So in the past, he has tried c3 and actually, no, not c3. I'm moving the board in a rotated orientation because of the history. What would the c3 be here? Yeah, okay, this move, d3, is what he has usually played, or played half of the time. So, in fact, if Rabbit Boy prepared specifically for Pluto, this was probably in his opening prep. Like,
I'm
he
not
has
sure
probably looked at this
how
position.
much he's prepared specifically for Pluto on this. Ooh. I don't know
Capstone
about
is
that.
typical.
I was
I
thinking that
think that
potentially isolating the capstone would have worked really well there.
I think in those positions you just move the capstone down, and you just utilize the weakness that becomes on c2. Yeah, like this capstone is pretty thematic in the hug.
Yeah, I really like Black's position here, to be honest. White's not in a terrible position, but I think just Black having the capstone makes me like it a lot stronger. As soon as White gets that capstone down, I'm sure that I'll be liking White's position, but it's got to get it in a relevant place. And right now, things are so tightly packed that finding a good spot for that capstone where it's going to be able to do some work and get into the mix of things is going to be pretty tough. Because it's right now, White seems to be just really focusing. Oh, I was gonna say really focusing on that horizontal, but going straight towards the vertical here, and giving that capstone another direction in which to travel.
Yeah, so I think we've deviated from the main line by now. There's no games in the history, and I don't know. I feel like it's quite balanced. I don't prefer Black here, although Black is definitely not worse. I can see this game going either way.
Yeah, I just like Black's positions. I think specifically because the capstone's positioning relative to the other pieces here. I feel like the capstone is really strong, but once we see White's capstone eventually drop, I feel like that will shift things a lot. Just because White still doesn't have that capstone on the board, it definitely feels unbalanced in terms of power that Black has right now.
Yeah, but looking at momentum, like White is 2 moves away from threat. So White still has momentum, and after Black captures, with the capstone down, likely, we'll see a placement from White with enough time to counter Black's threat.
Yeah.
So I don't think the capstone being down already is too much of a factor. Okay. So Rabbit Boy has
Black,
chosen the vertical.
yeah, and so Black now has momentum.
Oh, did I miscount? Yes, I did. Okay.
Simply because Black chose for c5. I wouldn't have chosen c5 personally.
Yeah, I would have gone D1 and so on. Like,
Yeah,
focus
and
on the
so the
lower.
c5 placement kind of threw us off because that is the more momentum driven move, but I feel like for overall positioning, I think that it's not as strong as something like a d1 or even like a b4.
Oh, I
Now,
don't
ooh,
like this. But it's interesting. I obviously the idea is to capture left and then up, but that seems like a large time investment.
yeah, and you got the capstone now on the edge of the board, which is potentially pretty problematic here. Now, if you're Black, do you make that capture down first onto c3? Or do you go ahead and play some flats? You could play some flats in prep, maybe at e3, or to kind of get on the other side of that vertical line. Um, oh, this is looking really good for white now. I told you, as soon as that capstone drops, it changes
I don't
things.
think so. I think if black is able to stop the horizontal threat, the black is just uncontested on the on top. Uh, and with white's capstone so far down, it will take a lot of moves to get any presence on the top of the board. Like I can see if black manages to get b4, d5, then that the control on the top of the board is like all out of balance, is how I would describe it. Well, in the lower part of the board, there's both black and white pieces, so it's easier to defend threats there. So I'm not too worried for black.
Okay, and it
I
looks
am worried
like
for
black is
white
seeing that
with
same
this.
thing and is going with what you were saying, playing off there to the side, kind of cutting off that vertical line, but also moving towards the horizontal for black up near the top edge of the board, where, like you said, it's pretty uncontested. And so then white's probably going to try and focus on horizontal down below if they don't just immediately try and hedge off like an e5 placement or something like that, trying to get around and still go for the vertical and stop black's horizontal.
I think you need to play e5 here.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems like we call
Drops
the
one.
move out. 2 seconds later, gets played. Get out of the
We are
stream,
on a
guys.
delay, so it's not like they're listening. We're on a delay.
Either way, I'm rooting for white, right? So
Yeah, you're rooting for white because you're old
I should
world.
I should be happy that Pluto played the right move. At least I hope it's right. These
Yeah.
positions are tough to evaluate because there's so much happening all in one space right from the start.
That hug opening is something that I haven't really looked into very much, but it is an absolute doozy. And the fact that there are essentially main lines, that is something that I didn't really know. I didn't recognize that you guys had things planned out like 5 moves. That is not
Yeah.
any sort of prep that I would ever do for this game. Like, part of the reason why I never got into chess is at a certain point you have to study openings and memorize them in order to be able to stop other openings and things like that. And that is not what I want out of a game. And so the fact that that's sort of starting to be a thing among some players like you and Alion, I think Ali, those 3 people are the only ones who I think really study like opening lines and sort of memorize them. But yeah, that's sort of coming to be a thing is really fascinating to me, and it just kind of goes to show that this sort of competitive environment is really evolving here. But I do think going back to the specific game right now in the position that e4 placement, I feel like that just seems like the only good play here. If it wasn't a flat, it was a wall, and that just kind of feels like the play you make at this position.
Yeah, but then I think that drags your capstone right, like onto d4, which, I mean, again, we have this huge threat brewing on the top of the board for black, but then white has more space to work with on the lower horizontal. So I think we'll end up with a sort of a structure where we have 2 roads. Like black is focusing on the top horizontal, white is focusing on the bottom horizontal. And I think black has a better placed capstone for that structure. Oh wait,
Well,
captured down with the flat? Huh?
I think the reason why he
Okay.
captured down with the flat is it maintains his horizontal, and also he's got that stack protected by the capstone. So he can go ahead and play at f4 now and make his own tack threat. And if white wants to capture war on d4, black's always going to win.
Unless d2 plus followed by a throw upwards, sacrificing all of the flat count, but for a
Oh yeah,
very well placed
absolutely. But
capstone.
black's going to get there first. As soon as white moves to d2, black moves over, right? Like there's there's no counterplay to that. Either black moves over or black plays at c6 and makes their other attack threat in the vertical direction that requires a response from white to make it so white can't throw up onto d4. Because black still has that threat hanging. Being able to play at c6, that's a vertical threat. Being able to play at f4, that's the horizontal threat. Black wants to be able to make both of these threats at the same time. And that it's too hard to get that to work from this position. I'm not sure how much more prep is going to be required for that. But he does go for that horizontal line. Now, this is where I probably see e5 coming down.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to capture next to the capstone. I think you want e5 down, then black will likely either place somewhere, or if they recapture, then you place a wall. Yeah, okay, they recaptured. I think recapturing is the worst play.
Well, it was attack threat.
Okay,
so
yeah.
he had to recapture or capture up and down with like d4 or something. So there was a capture that was going to need to happen. Now this is where black can play at c6 and go for his vertical line and make it so that that wall can't capture right now.
It is an intermezzo, but I don't think that affects
very long, but it is a thing that can happen. I just really like it when you can get a move where you're making a threat in order to stop your opponent from doing something, like to stop them from making a capture, or to stop them from spreading in a direction. You make a threat somewhere else on the board they have to respond to, or make a move where if they make that move that's really advantageous to them, it opens you up to making a road, sort of thing. So playing that type of counterplay, I really, really like those types of moves, and I tend to gravitate towards them and value them higher, even if they're not technically higher. In my brain, they feel like a better move, so I just go for it. Because for me, it's just more fun to play that way. And I've said it a billion times.
To make threats?
Well, to play in such a way that if your opponent does what they want to do, they open themselves up for a problem. And so it's
okay,
sort of
so
like,
you like
sort
making
of like
traps.
pins. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing that I like. For me, that's the more fun move to play. And I'm always about making the more fun move. Maybe not necessarily the better move, but for me, the more fun move. And so I tend to value those higher than I probably should. And so here,
now,
he's taking that stack and moving it, running it away from the wall, which honestly, not a bad play here. It still works towards both the vertical and the horizontal threats for black. Black's able to protect that stack at e5, e6, because that e5 can come up if it goes for the capture with the d6. It's not that bad. White, however, can now play at e4 and renew that threat. But then black probably captures up with 2d5 or 2d4 plus.
Oh, I thought you would instead c5 right to build your road. But I mean, either way, it's the same. All right.
Well, if white plays e4, you've got to move that d4 stack. Otherwise, it's oh, you were thinking c5, right? Okay, yeah, I see it now.
Yeah. It's the same either way. Yeah, and exactly, we're getting this structure where black is dominating on top, but there are now two major weaknesses, and they're no longer directly protected by the capstone.
For sure.
But I think to make any use of them, white will have to invest more walls.
Absolutely.
So I think going into the end game, I can see black being up on FCD, or at least up on the reserves, although reserves currently are better for white.
But white does need to stop attack threat right now.
Yeah, but that's obvious.
It's obvious to you right now, but there are a lot of people who would have missed that. And I think here is where you'll probably see like an F5 placement. To me, makes a lot of sense.
Why F5 instead of B4?
Like B4 works. I like the f5 because you've got that protection up above. b4 works also, but I don't know. I like f5 better for whatever reason.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking about this. So you capture down, which likely induces a recapture, and then you place another wall which forks um, the two stacks on e6 and d5. I think there's an idea there,
Because yeah, you need to
but
recapture, but
again,
do you recapture with c5 or with e5?
I don't know. Either way, there you can fork on d6.
Because this is where the wall drops at d6.
Yeah, which is I think a better situation for black than if you had captured with e5, because then the wall on e5 is closer to the center.
Yeah.
This will probably see a spread downwards, but then there's the other wall there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we might see black's capstone activating, and then we'll see the difference in having a central capstone and a capstone on the edge.
Yeah, black's capstone is in a really good spot right here. It can move in essentially a net zero FCD move to c5 and or d4 and protect that stack and still be working
Oh,
towards that horizontal a little bit.
that's not what I was thinking, but yeah, I guess that also works. But what I was thinking is black will play something like 5. Okay, more not. I was going to say 5d5 minus 3-2, and then we'll see something like e3 left, and then black will maybe self-capture on d4. But I guess they just move up.
I know my rabbit. That's honestly, it's the move I would have played. Um,
Yeah, but
moving
now
that
I'm not so
capstone.
confident that black will be up on FCD in the end game because these types of moves cost a lot. I mean,
They
okay, it's
do.
one now, but you gave up the other stack, and you still need to move this one eventually. Or
Now
okay, maybe
here,
maybe
do
not.
you play something like f5 knowing you're going to get cut off by this wall stack, or do you play it like b5, which works towards the same threat but also works towards your vertical on the left hand side?
I was going to say c4, which is what was played.
Yeah.
I think I tend to just go for the more central move, not for like I don't see why you want to play f5 when you have c4 available.
All right, so this is probably going to force the capture, or maybe even just get a flat place at f5 from white.
Or flat's more better.
More flats, more better. You know the slogan.
Yeah, I would just place a flat that the e5 is not going anywhere.
And then if black plays at f4, then you've got to make
Yeah,
some sort of capture. And you could do that with the wall. You could do that with the flat. You could do it a number of different ways.
okay, now we're seeing that if you look at the structure of the board again, I think white is has managed to sort of neutralize the threat. With the two walls on top, there's not going to be anything happening there for a while. And now we have to see how black defends the lower horizontal from white.
Because white's able to make a threat in two moves.
Yeah,
And black, however, can make a threat also in two moves. So black has momentum here. And that's a
also,
move like
I
with
mean,
c6 and then a3 minus.
they can also make a threat on this turn by doing 5d5 minus, but that doesn't seem good.
Yeah, that's not a great move. That just gets recaptured with no hope of recovering it.
Yeah.
Playing at d4 though, I find that an interesting play.
I think I don't know. I wonder whether Rabbit wants to self-capture on d5 and try to smash on e5.
Ooh.
Is that the idea? but I feel white can just make a threat, and then there's no time for this.
So this cap
But
coming up ruins black's ability to make that vertical threat, but also allows white to jump up if they need to, jump up to c4 and cut off any sort of horizontal that black wants to make, but also works towards their own horizontal on the bottom. That move, while I didn't really see it, I feel like it's really, really good for white here.
mm, yeah, I feel like the ideas for white are much easier now. While for
Yeah.
black, you really have to search for like how do you want to approach this.
Yeah, white's
Like
position I feel like is more
there are
straightforward.
yeah, exact. That's what I mean. Like there are some crazy ideas you can do with self captures. Like you can self capture d5, spread down maybe to stop, but then there's the wall on e3, which like makes that very difficult to play because you know you'll be giving up a big stack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why I sound upset. I should be happy because I think Pluto is able to play these types of positions well.
I think that when you're watching a game and you're sort of commentating, you kind of you subconsciously pick sort of a player to kind of like think about their side more than the other side. And then
Yeah, and
when that player is falling behind, you're like, wait, hold on, why am I losing? I need to figure this out and find an out for that one player. And then if that player's winning, you're like, okay, all I need to do is do this, and then this player wins. And so it's this subconscious choosing of a player that I think that what gets us. And you subconsciously chose black, even though you want,
yeah,
because of
I
your
think
team, you want white to win.
I think maybe if we go with your theory, I think if we analyze why I might have chosen black, it's probably because I played the hug, and that's an opening that you play as black. So I have more experience playing this opening as black. So
Yeah,
maybe that's why I'm thinking from for black. Like I'm thinking what to do as black here.
that could totally be a thing. And here, so with this f2 placement, white can play at f1, and then black's basically got to do some capturing shenanigans down there at the bottom right. If white doesn't play at f1, I think black wants to play c5 right. So c5 right
Yeah.
would be a tack threat in the horizontal direction by spreading down, but it's also threatening the stack on on e5. Overall, a really strong move, but black needs to figure that stuff out on the bottom right before they can ever do anything like that, because they've got no time to think about that right now. I guess they could
Yeah.
drop a wall there, but at d1, or they could do the f2 minus, and then once the flat drops it at f2, then they do e2 right. Probably want to go
That's
with the wall
ugly.
method there at d1.
Yeah. But does the wall really stop it? I mean, for now.
It stops it enough for black to be able to make that that c5 right move.
Yeah, it becomes tough to see what to play for either color
Yeah.
or either side.
I just really
But
want to see
again,
that c5 right move. Again, it's the more fun move. I'm not sure if it's technically good, but for me, it's just fun. And I like to
I
see
mean,
that.
I think that's the only way you really play that position as black, is you capture on d5. Excuse me.
All
Did I
good.
manage to mute myself or not?
You did not.
I think I pressed it twice accidentally.
I'll cover it in
Okay,
post.
but yeah,
So we
but we
got
do see
the wall at
we do see
d1. I
yeah.
think he wants to do it. I think he wants to. I hope he does it. That sort of move is a move that I would play. It's a move that Apple Monkey Man would play. It's a move that probably Ali would play, coming over with that capstone, because it generates chaos in the game,
Yeah.
and just can cause
I
a
think
bunch
it's
of things to
happening.
change.
Like even I would play that move in this position because I don't see what that capstone is doing otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
It's just surrounded by its own color. There's no other option for it. And I mean, I guess you can delay and just keep placing stones, but you're not better here, right? What's the flat count? It's
It's 12 for
10.
black,
Yeah.
11 for white.
Okay, and I guess you could wait, maybe.
I mean, I would still probably do it.
Mm.
If I've got an opening to do it at this point, I'm going to do it before I lose that opportunity. Because even if I can't spread down, even if that's stopped for whatever reason, I can still smash e5 and get those flats and make that threat.
Okay, assuming c5 right happens, what does white play? Uh, they want to prevent the threat.
Well, white needs to play
Because...
something first. If white does something
Oh
down at the
wait, wait
bottom,
hasn't played.
no,
Oh,
white hasn't played. So if white does like d2 right or e1 plus, then that wall's going to move in whatever direction works for it. White can't afford to smash that wall if it is at like d2, for example, because then black's going to spread left and kind of ruin that setup. And
feel like
but if he does, he'll be able to reach that stack at d5.
I'm thinking through more crazy ideas that I think you like. 3 c2 right, threatening the stack on top, probably inducing the self-capture.
Yeah.
Then c1 for the attack threat with the smash on
Oh
d1.
yeah, I like it. I like it. Because that
But
self capture isn't a threat anymore in the horizontal down below because the capstone's blocking it.
yeah,
Oh, that's
and
good. Yeah,
then
I like that.
probably the wall on d1 moves right or left or somewhere, and you place on c2, and you're still threatening by spreading over to the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And
not bad.
the capstone on top can't really stop it because you have your capstone in the way. So then we'll
But
probably see a3 minus,
but
and then the horde.
you make something. So I feel like you'd still be able to stop with that wall over there. You go e1 and then maybe you go up. Oh,
Oh,
he does it.
there we go.
He's making the move. Now this is where the c5 right happens. And so I
Probably.
think, and then after c5 right happens, it's
Or
c1,
can
like you
you?
said.
Is that even a threat though? Because you would be leaving a black flat on d4, right? And then you have a road for
Oh yeah,
black.
so he can't capture that. So he doesn't need to make the c5 right. He can drop a flat at or a wall down at oh if he drops a wall at c2, white can still play at c1 for the threat, but then black can take c2 left to cut that half off.
Yeah, I wonder whether Pluto thought he was threatening on top, whether he was threatening d5.
Yeah, because he can't move d5. He can't capture d5 here, or that is a
Yeah.
road. And I wonder if black sees that. Now, I will also point out we're 24 moves in. Rabbit Boy 84 down below 3 minutes on the clock. Pluto the Brave at 4 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. They don't get an extra 15 minutes until move 35, which by that point, they will be very low on time or the game will be over. Um, because of how low their time is right now. They're using a lot of time here.
But I think if you are using time anywhere, it's probably here. I think this is the
Yeah.
crux of the game.
He made the c5 right move. Whether it's because he thought that he had to protect that, or if it's because he was like, I want to use this opportunity now that white's not making a threat to do this. That happened.
Yeah. Now this is. I don't know. Maybe it's not that bad for white. Or it's difficult to evaluate. It's I would be
Well,
struggling here.
if white plays c2
Oh, with
like that, then
that.
you do d1 right, correct?
D1, right? I mean that's one option.
Taking that wall to the right cuts off that threat.
A3 minus is another one, going for
Yeah,
the
but A3
vertical for
minus then
black.
takes away your anchor point to that horizontal line that you want to
Yeah, but
threaten on the
it
following
gives
turn.
you, after you place A3, it gives you a vertical threat. But okay, yes, I see your point. Uh,
Oh,
oh,
he
and
does the A3
it gets
minus.
and I guess we see a wall, SA3. And then black plays A4, and then what does white do? Uh,
Maybe tosses up to A4 with the wall stack.
what do you mean? So,
Oh, but white,
it,
white
it,
would have to capture down
so
first.
yeah,
Yeah.
so SA3, A4. There's no time to capture down because
Well, there's no
the
threat from black.
not yet. But if you capture down, then what? Smash right, and how are you dealing with this? Oh, I guess you can throw up, and okay, yeah, and then you're threatening with your capstone. Okay, so I'll to explain for the viewers and hope maybe even you, because I'm sort of rambling. The
Oh,
idea was
never mind.
SA3, A4, um, then D5 right, A3 minus. Um, oh, actually, wait, that would be a road. I
Doesn't
think I made
matter.
two
But now
moves for
black's
black.
going to play an
Anyway,
A3, right?
yeah.
I
Oh,
think black
I need
playing
to.
A3 is sort of inevitable here. It doesn't make a threat in the vertical direction anymore because black's capstone stack is not connected to that D4 position anymore. But it is threatening to make one in the near future. Black can, make a threat now by placing at B6 or at C6, uh, and or even at D6, and then any of those can be completed by a capstone stack spread with that hard capstone there.
I think SA3 worked. Oh, like 2 moves ago. But I
You'll
would
have to
need to look
analyze
at
that
it
later
again.
in
Yeah.
with Willem or something.
Yeah, I think. Oh, okay. I think the wall still is fine, but yeah, what's the flat count now? Because there were some bad flat count moves
11 for
for
black,
white.
10 for white. So still just a
Same,
one difference.
but after white's move, so black can now place it there ahead.
Yes. Yes. And so they'll be up by 2 if black places a flat here, which I feel like C5, not a bad play.
Yes, so we can see C5,
And then if A4 comes
A4
down,
minus.
then you see A4.
Yeah, and then 2 A3 minus, and then what? Smashing right is not really a threat anymore because the capstone is there now, and it will
No,
capture onto
but
D5.
you do F4 plus to make your threat in the horizontal.
Ah, but then don't you just? Ah, no, you
Because
don't.
white wouldn't have had the opportunity to move that wall on A2 first. And so overall, in terms of momentum, it works out for black to just place and make these threats. Um, black instead playing at
Huh?
B5. Why? Why B5 over C5? Maybe it was a misclick. He was down below a minute.
Okay, 7 moves away from extra time.
Oh, Rabbit Boy 84 also plays on his cell phone, so
Oh
there is a
no,
strong possibility that B5 was a misclick and he was going for C5.
that's a weird choice.
I I,
Strange choice
I
to
think
play
that he
on your
has
cell
very
phone.
limited access to his phone because or to his computer because he's always traveling, and so he
Hmm.
almost all of his tag is played on his phone.
I mean, that might be why he has the time issues.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that is not Not
I don't
crazy.
understand this wall at all. What's the point of
It's
this
so
wall?
A2 can't move down to make the threat, so he's got to move F5 minus to make his threat.
I mean, you can also just free A2 minus and you get the FCD that you wanted. The threat here will get stopped anyway, right?
Yeah, so if he does, but if he does F5 minus, the threat being stopped is with a flat on flat capture.
Actually, hold on. Is it anyway if F5 minus because you have
I
the
think it
double
might
stack
be.
on D3. Hold on.
Oh, but he didn't do
If
F5
I,
minus, he did C5 instead.
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because if you there's C4 minus followed by D3 left and then B3 right, and you cannot make that connection. Okay, it
Mm.
wasn't anyway. Don't worry.
But maybe
But it
White's playing
was
C5 to come down with C5 first before the F5 minus so they can make the Tinue. Or maybe they're just playing at
maybe.
C6 to make attack threat in the vertical direction.
Maybe.
Black plays up at C6 to block that immediate attack threat.
Okay. Now, do you try to force the Tinue? I
I
feel
mean, it
like
might
it's
work.
too on the nose. Like if you do C5 minus, Rabbit Boy will surely go like, okay, that's strange. What is going on? And maybe he'll see the idea.
Plays
Ooh,
up at
okay.
F6.
So setting up the vertical after something like
Yeah,
F3.
if he plays at F3, then that would be a threat there. Trying to think of a way that Black could make this work.
I think Black wants to move the entire stack up, then
Yeah,
spread right.
I think that's what
But there's
Black
no
wants.
time. There's no time, right? After F3.
After F3, Black moves F4 left.
Hmm.
I think F5 minus is still better here.
Ooh, and then it's a threat in two directions, but they're both stoppable by
With the
capturing
same
onto
spot, yeah.
C3.
Oh, he plays the F3. Now we're going to see F4 left.
And then
But
maybe E4 plus.
Rabbit's at 35 seconds on the clock, so he may not see it.
Surely he sees the vertical threat.
Well, he sees the
But
vertical threat, but he may not see F4 left.
yeah,
seconds.
15 seconds on the clock. This is probably going to be
He's
very
got
tense for Rabbit.
3 moves.
Does even see the clock on his phone.
Oh, and now we're going to see F4 placed, which is going to be essentially Tinue.
Well, not yet.
No, it's not Tinue,
right?
but it's dang close. And I said it right before. Rabbit 84 is a fantastic player. He will win unless he gets killed by the clock.
5 seconds.
I think that was the wrong move.
I think that's the new after P1 plus. Yeah.
Oh,
Missed it?
he missed it. He played the wrong move. Now the wall can come down.
Yeah, what?
And now with one more turn, 15 minutes
Yes.
gets added to the clock.
He has 2 minutes on his clock. His opponent has 10. Why is he playing so fast? I mean,
And there's another tack threat.
Okay.
So Black can now play at A3 and get 15 minutes.
Come on. Okay, at least we get to see the game through. At least neither player will lose on time.
Yeah, losing on time is an absolute bummer and a half.
Like, surely, I don't know, maybe he didn't see the. I mean, clearly didn't see the Tinue since he didn't play it.
He
But
didn't see the Tinue there. I think he must have thought there was. He probably just didn't even see the option of going B1 plus, because you get locked into that. Oh, I've got the wall here. I'm good. I probably just totally missed it.
You only play B1 plus if you know it's a Tinue.
Yeah.
And and for that, I think you need to notice you have a double stack on d3, and that's a bit hard to see because it's depending on what textures you use, they can blend into each other.
Yeah, yeah. Mine are
So
great. Mine are obvious.
yeah, because it's not tenuous unless there's a double stack there to
For
recapture
sure.
after c4 minus. So it's understandable to miss that, although it's a bit upsetting.
For you, I love it. But yeah, missed the Tinue, which feels bad because it's like, oh no. And Pluto will absolutely kick himself after this once he sees that he missed the Tinue. This, however, interesting turn of events because now we've got the A4. This is another tack threat from white going in the horizontal direction. But if black wants to stop it, they've got a few options to do that. One of them is coming down with A5. However, that stops that horizontal anchor point up at the top that he's got going on, that he wants to move that capstone up onto D5 to make that horizontal threat up at the top. So not ideal for that. But also white's wall stack at B4 is able to come up onto like B5 later on and kind of mess that up. Black goes for the self-capture with the wall, which I really like because that's going to help him out in the long run in terms of flat count differential moves. Able to spread that to the right and do some damage there. Granted, that white wall stack at B4 is able to come down and recover a little bit, but I think that overall it probably works out in black's favor.
Self-captures are equal at best, right?
No, they
because
are,
you do
but
-1 and then you do a +3, right? Or plus +2, sorry.
It's so he's got a +3 available to him right now. So he did a
Okay.
-1 and then a +3. So it equals out to a
+1 over
+2.
2 moves.
Yeah, plus
So just
one plus one.
placing
So yeah, +2 over 2 moves.
placing twice is better. Or and
Is
problem is
equal.
counting, but
Is
I
equal from an
don't feel like
FCD perspective, but reserve count, that's a good point. I think black is lower on reserves.
a
7-7 right now. So white can play a flat now and be lower. So white can play at, for example, B2, make that tack threat, and be doing better on flat count. But then black can spread A3 right to cut off that threat.
and then you place D2, and then that's another threat. Then the wall moves right, and then you probably don't smash. You just keep placing, I think.
But now they have a lot more time to think about these moves. And
I think white is much better here.
yeah, I would agree. White's much better here. White has a significantly better position, and it looks like white's way ahead on flats, but I'd have to count.
And black has a few FCDs.
I see 11 for black. Now it's a different story. Now it's 12 for black, and then 14 for white. So white's still up on flats, still making tack threats. If black's
can't place a flat
C3
there.
wall moves right, white can smash that without worrying about losing. Like right away.
Yeah, but
not
it's
that they
not,
want to, but
it's not a tack threat, right? So you can't count on recapturing the D4 stack, and and then things become complicated because D4 will spread right, and then black has suddenly a tack threat and a bunch of FCD. It's easier just to keep placing, I think.
For sure. Now here, black. Yeah, because white would be able to restart the threat by placing at C3 if that C3 stack moves right because of that C5 flat coming down.
I wonder if ever black's capstone moves left to spread onto C5, do you move your wall? Or are you still scared of the smash?
Well, if black's capstone moves left, it's attack threat, and you've got to stop that. The smash is the threat, and so you've got to stop it somewhere else with the b4 moving up to b5 is what you're saying.
No. I'm saying if something like free d5 left, I mean that's not even a threat, but if something like that happens and you want to capture the remaining stack on d5, do you use your wall or your capstone?
Hmm.
I think capstone. Anyway, I think c3 here, and you're just 5 reserves now, but 4 reserves after that move. Hmm.
So here's the problem with that. If you play c3 here, black does c6 minus and makes the horizontal tack threat. C6 minus horizontal tack
A4
threat.
plus? No. Um. Hmm.
And then F4 plus is probably what's going to happen. Right?
Yeah, I think I prefer F6 minus, but I think that's the same
F6
idea.
minus, yeah, probably works better because it doesn't stop the horizontal. But then what
Then a
happens
wall
when
comes down on
black's.
F6.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on here. There's so much going on here. This is a very complicated board position. Like, these huge stacks under walls. You got black with a hard capstone. Like, there's a lot going on in this position. Goes for it.
Okay.
Will we see a c6 minus?
Okay. C6 minus. Moving your. Now doing something like B4. Or sorry, 5B4 plus. Smash left. What is going on? That's attack threat in the vertical
Yeah.
for
Which
black.
would need to be stopped by
Probably by
by the
wall
capstone or the wall
B4.
if there's a position for wall left. Yeah.
And then you do something and you smash right, and then it gets very complicated.
Yeah.
So
I
probably
think
not.
if b4 comes up, uh, I feel like it's gonna be black's game to win.
Yeah, I think that's a terrible idea. I would
If
not do that.
if b4 comes up, it's gonna get smashed by the capstone and black will win. Not because it'll be immediate, but because it will just happen because of the way the whole spreading situation is going to work out. It's going to work out in black's favor. Like, there's no doubt. Um,
Yeah.
but
So instead, something like F6 minus or
yeah, F6
F4
minus
plus.
is the move here, I think.
But then SF6, and then what do you do as white? Like you can no longer smash on D3. So maybe you move. It's confusing. Maybe move your capstone left to try to attack c5, or will you still be up if... Okay, if f6 minus happens, sf6, and then the wall will capture f5 and spread down. I don't know how the flat count works out, but is white
So
still up in that situation?
so if the wall drops at F6 and white takes the D4 capstone, moves it left, that's a horizontal attack threat that black needs to stop
Yeah,
by filling in a
but
D4, correct? Now, if it weren't, I would say black just plays at d2 to make a threat, right? Because if white's attacking c5 with the capstone, sure, whatever, that's fine. Just play at d2, and then now you've got your own threat again by smashing, getting a hard capstone, all this sort of thing, doing more fun stuff like that. But white's still able to just make a threat by a placement. So black probably plays at flat at d4 there to try and get more ahead on flats. White down to 4 reserves. I think black's still at 7 here. So white's going to be able to control where this game ends, at least as of right now.
I think as white, you're content with the current board layout, and I think before you move your capstone, you'll go down to 2 reserves. At 2 reserves, it's like a magic number where you can always just place once, and now your opponent has to somehow be up on reserves, or else you just, or sorry, up on FCD,
Yeah,
or else you just win.
for sure.
So if white can get to that point, they can just maneuver around and get up on FCD, place once, and then if black has no counterplay, they just win.
Yeah, and we've got now. It is 13 to 11 in terms of flats at this moment for white. So black's down by 2. So black can't count on winning by flats here. White can be totally content to just drop flats places and push this as much as they can. Black coming down onto f5 on the following turn. Let's say white drops a flat like at d2 right here. Then that would be 14 to 11. And then black moves down. White drops another flat, 15 to 11. Or no, 14 to 11 again. And then
Yeah.
we see the +3 move from black after that.
Okay,
And
so
then
12 to
black would
12.
then come up ahead. White drop on the wall sees that. So sees that white's going to be able to come down with c5, come down onto c5 and spread left for the more flat count differential and just flat out here. I don't see a counterplay here unless there's something funky. Like right now, black needs to make a move with the capstone. Needs to smash on e5. Needs to move left to counter to threaten the smash on b4. Needs to do something to make some threatening move here.
Needs to inject some chaos.
Absolutely. That is the play. Inject chaos into this game. But how do you do that?
Well, okay, hold.
It's
That
got to be a
stack
smash
on.
or a smash threaten. But probably even just, it probably has to be a smash, to be honest.
If you move the whole stack leftwards onto b5 to threaten b4, can you get enough things there to also threaten the vertical if b4 moves? No. Yeah. I think you can still make it. You can still pretend you have a threat. You can move the whole stack from d5 left onto c5. Then you'll have 4 black pieces there. Although the the last one has to stay in its place. And if you manage to get d2, you can threaten the horizontal that way.
Yeah. I don't know. It's got to be a capstone move though. If he does anything, it's got to be a capstone move. And it feels like moving it left onto b5 is the move. I'm just not sure what the distribution should be for the spread.
There's 3 walls there surrounding the whole spreading area. So however you spread, it's going to be next to a wall.
Yeah.
I wonder, can we attribute the state of the position to c4 plus or move 17?
Oh,
I feel
that is
c4
too
plus.
far
I
for
really
me.
did not. I really did not like c4 plus. I thought it. Okay, maybe Maybe I don't like it in hindsight, but I really thought you'd spread down. Okay.
He makes the smash. Will white capture d5?
Do they have to?
I don't think so. I think at this point, white can be playing flats and flat out to win. Now,
Pluto is probably counting.
here's my thought. If white plays a flat, what if black takes the whole c5 stack and moves it down to c4? Then black is with that capstone threatening the smash on b4. Let's say b4 runs away. Black spreads down onto c3, c2, going for more flat count differential moves.
Yeah, but
and
you
forcing
self-captured,
white to run away.
and we covered that if you self-capture and then spread, it's equal to placing.
Yes, but you're forcing white to run away with
Yes,
the
which
stack.
is also equal to placing.
But it's keeping him
So-
from playing more flats on the board and running
Okay,
down
sure.
time. It's delaying him controlling when the game ends, maybe.
All right, but neither of you are placing, so reserves are not changing.
Yeah,
And
but it's
so
chaos.
it's like, I mean, yes, it's I think one of the better tries in this position, but it's not going closer to a win.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm just trying to think of some way that black can come out on top in this, but it's just such a dominant position. And honestly, if black does do that, white's then free to smash on d3 because it would no longer be a pin.
I see no reason to smash on d3.
Oh, absolutely not. You could just
If
flat out
you're
and be
going
fine. But
if
it'd be
you're going
more
for
fun.
a win, I'm sure it would be more fun if both players cooperated to try to make the biggest stack, but I think that's not their goal in this tournament.
Fine. Be boring. Pluto taking quite a bit of time on this one, probably trying to figure out if there's a way for black to come back. And
I think he might just be counting.
yeah, could be counting over and over again. I know that in a couple of my matches, I think I counted like 6 or 7 times in a row before I finally made a choice.
Yeah. Without a FCD bar like you have in PT and Ninja, there's always this uncertainty. Like, did I count right?
Yeah, it's like, did I get that
Yeah.
right? Did I miss one?
And I feel like if you have the time and you feel like you're going to win, then you can spend it on counting more than once.
So it's 12 to 11 in favor of white right now. Which is better for black than I thought it would be.
Are you
Because-
also counting the spread down after of
No,
F5
I'm
or
not.
not?
Black's at 11, so black can spread that F5 stack down and be ahead on flats. That's why Pluto's taking this time. We must have miscounted earlier or whatever when we were analyzing this, thinking that white was going to be ahead on flats no matter what. That's not the case. White's up by 1. Black has a +3 move available.
All right, but if you capture
So if white
D5, surely you can also recover it. Essentially pins the capstone on C5, because if it moves, you spread left and get all the FCD you would ever want.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay, it's closer than it seems. Like, this position, just by looking at it, seems very winning for white. But if you actually count maybe what I should have been doing is counting.
Yeah, you should have been doing what Pluto's been doing.
Yeah. If you count, maybe
I
it's closer than it
I'm
seems.
counting on you to be like the smart, better player here. I'm here for the color commentary. You're a better player, Tak, than
All
I
right,
am.
hold on. Then I'll shut up and count.
Yeah, shut up and count. I'm rank 10. What rank are you? 5? 3?
I think 6 at the moment.
Yeah, higher than
Uh,
10.
oh, hopefully higher by the end of this tournament.
I
But
might be higher by the
don't
end of
tell
this
Ali that.
tournament. I won my game.
Right.
Yeah, this is a really tough position. Like, and I love how at 35 minutes we're like, oh, they've each gotten 15 more minutes of time. They're good to go for quite a while now. Pluto at move 42 now, down to 5 minutes. He has spent, I think, close to 5 minutes on this move alone. I'll have to check the clock on that, but he has spent a lot of time on this particular move.
Hmm.
Also, yes, you are ranked number 6.
Yeah. Losing to Tones in the 7
Oh,
by
look at
7
that
open.
move!
Put me down. Yeah, okay. Hmm.
What's going on?
Hold on. Can White just place now? Is there enough? Because that's essentially gaining +1 FCD with this exchange. Because you captured and they placed the
And then
wall.
and then the wall dropped. Yeah.
So it's currently 12 for White and 10 for Black.
12 for white.
So we'll just count like +2. After White
Yeah.
places, it's +3. Then Black will spread down, which is again 0 now. Place again, it's +1. Black can spread C5 downwards, but does that gain anything? Because it's a +1 essentially, so it's back to 0, and then White places and wins. So I think White can just place.
I think you're right.
I think that the wall there was
I think the
placed
wall
too
was a
fast,
misplay. I think Rabbit had decided if he comes up, I'm gonna drop a wall here,
and it didn't
and
count.
I think that messed him up. I think Black should have dropped a flat because I don't think because it's not like White was threatening a road there.
Yeah, it just pins the capstone essentially.
But what he
So
was doing, I think, is White was threatening to spread down and smash on D3, leaving only one black flat on D4, which would have then
ah
canceled out the opportunity for Black to spread right for that road, and then White would have gotten D3. So
yeah, and that smash would also be a tag threat, horizontal tag threat. So Black is forced to do something. Yeah, okay. I think Pluto has figured it out. I think
yeah,
Pluto sees the win.
yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, if Black didn't drop that wall, I think it would have. I think what I said
There were
would
drawing
happen, and
chances.
that would have been bad. I think that it would have been really close to Tinue.
Yeah. Okay. So let's count again, just to be sure. So there's
11 for Black,
yeah, 11 for White. So 0 as we
13 for White.
thought. Or am I already counting with the spread down?
No,
What the hell?
what was that play?
5B for minus. I don't think that's needed.
But now he does have a +2 move going on to A3 if he wants it. Black makes the spread. White's down to 2 flats. So black's at 11 flats.
11 for white as well. So
Yeah.
place ones, black places, white places wins.
Yeah, and black doesn't have any +2 moves available. And
Yeah.
white even has a +2 move available. So, yeah, this works out. Although,
The spread down is also
yeah, but because of the
+1.
white's got one reserve, not enough time. If he had one more reserve, black would be able to pull out another move. Would be able to do 4c4 or 4c5 minus 2/2, and then 2c4 left 1/1. But that's not the case. Now white's able to flat out for the win. $12 for white currently. Wait, hold on. Is it 13 for black?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
No, it's
8,
12.
9, 10, 11,
Yeah,
12.
so white
13
wins.
after
Wow,
this.
that was close. That was a close game. That was a wild ride, is what that was.
Yeah, and there were definitely some fun moves there.
Yeah.
17 C4 plus. Then I liked Pluto's idea of moving the capstone right on 24, so free C2 right. And
Yeah.
now I wonder if when C5 was played, did Rabbit Boy think that the white's capstone was threatening the stack?
No, I think
And there was a missed Tinue as well.
when C5
Okay.
on 30.
C5, the one where it self-captured the large stack, that was on 24.
On move 24. Hold on.
C5 right, 24.
Yeah, I think it might have been that he thought it was threatening the stack. But also it is just in general a pretty solid move. I felt like, at least. But yeah,
then,
that was a wild ride of a game. That was a lot of fun to watch. And hey, Pluto came out on top, meaning 1 point for Old World.
let's go.
That means that it's going to be 4-2 now after that match here, as soon as I update those scores. Or Arch does. But yeah, so congratulations to Pluto the Brave, and congratulations to Old World for winning a game. And I guess congratulations to you, Will, since you're part of Old World.
Thank you. I did a lot of work here.
a lot of work went into it on your part for Pluto to win.
Yes,
Yeah?
exactly. Yeah.
Clearly.
I'm taking at least half of the credit for this win.
But that is all for today. Thank you, Will, for joining me in the commentary box for this game. It was a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure as always.
And thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAK, especially the TAK Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAK resources like strategy guides and people to play with. Maybe one of us right there on playtak.com, or asynchronously in the Discord server, or you can find people even on a little map that we have where you can find people nearby you. Hey, meet up in a library, a pub, or something like that and play some games. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.